I didn't even have a bookkeeper doing my books. Back then, it was literally like, I wonder how much I made this year. I'd literally give all the financials, like bank account statements to the accountant, and he would tell me, I'm like, wow, I made that. I didn't know. Um, but there are some parameters, what you're willing to pay in marketing and sales to acquire a customer. Okay, that's your biggest expense. What's your CAC, customer acquisition cost, or CPA? Some people call it, cost per acquisition. What's the most you're willing to pay, and stick to it. Don't go beyond that. Okay, because when you give yourself a cap on what you're willing to pay to acquire customers, and really when you give yourself a cap on anything you're willing to pay for, what you find is you become smarter. Oh, I can only pay to acquire customer. I can only pay $100 to acquire a customer on Google, and I'm spending $100,000 a month with Google. Google is telling me I can get 50% more customers if I'm only spending 125. No, don't do it. Don't sacrifice your profits. Don't start moving the goalpost every single time that your ego is crushed and you can't grow your business more, because really you're just sacrificing profits and creating what? You're just creating busy work. You're in business to make money. You're not in business to like feed your ego that you grew. And in fact, I got to squash some of this fast growth Inc. 5000 stuff. People aren't going to want to hear this. But for you guys right now that are just trying to make the Inc. 5000 list, you better check yourself right now. Okay. If you do 3 years in a row of Inc. 5000 and you look back at your tax returns and you made the same amount of money, you just fed your ego. And I've done that too. So stop moving the goalposts. Create your KPIs. What am I willing to acquire customers for? That's the number. Once you hit a ceiling in a particular marketing channel, you stop. Get creative. Come up with another marketing channel. Test out another way to acquire customers. Okay. We've gone to the point where we maximized Google and we couldn't grow anymore in Google. What did we do? We went to Bing. Then we went to Facebook. We're running TV ads right now. Who's running TV ads? We're running TV ads. Why? Because if we can hit that KPI, we're getting customers from there. Then you got to look at other things. What is the lifetime value? What's the average revenue you're getting out of each client? Are you not taking on worse clients to feed your ego and get more sales? And that's sacrificing your margin as well? Cut it out. Look for quality clients. So I would say, protect your profit. Okay. Don't get caught up in the fluff. Don't be buying every e-course under the sun. Don't be signing up for every stupid piece of software you probably don't need. People were making millions and billions and trillions of dollars well before all the shiny objects on the internet showed up. You can make millions and billions and trillions of dollars and still protect your profit margins and run a very healthy company. Um, so LTVs, cherish them. That's typically your biggest expense. And then watch out on all the unnecessary things. And don't get caught up in shiny object syndrome. Don't get caught up in events you don't need to be hosting. Don't be caught up in uh, you know. I've heard people say, "Oh, we're going to do this big thing. It's a write off. It's a write off." Okay, so you're sacrificing 60% of profit to save 30% in taxes or 40% in taxes. That makes no sense. So protect those margins. And if your business changes, great. You're going to evolve. Okay? If you've gone from a mom and pop that's making a 50% margin and you've read the E-Myth Revisited that says that's not a business, you're just self-employed, and you need to staff up and replace yourself. Okay, that might be the only time you adjust the goalpost, where you say, okay, from 50%, if I'm hiring all these people, a real business operates at 20% and 25 or whatever that number is. Speak to your peers. What's the industry standards? Maybe set a higher standard to them, and stick to it. And then watch when you're capped and there's a ceiling, you'll become more creative and you'll become much smarter. We even faced this at the marketing agency when we first started out. It was a startup 2 years ago, and the first thing we did, because we have experience in marketing, let's run ads. Let's run ads. Well, the client acquisition cost in our industry be $2,000 or $3,000. As a new business, you've got a cash flow of that. So what did we say? Policy was we're not running ads for our own agency, which seems insane. But why did we do that? Because we knew if we couldn't run ads, if we set that policy, then what are we going to do? We're going to go out and network more. Okay. We're going to go and see people. We're going to have more meetings throughout the day. We're going to have more free time. And ultimately, we're going to get creative and we're going to make more calls. We're going to reach out to our network a little bit more until we get the revenue established enough that we can reinvest some of that revenue in ads and we can start acquiring people online. And then we're changing, we're changing, from a small startup, self-employed to an actual enterprise and a business, and we're going to adjust our margins then to accommodate a client acquisition model. Good, but don't sacrifice those margins. Rule number one.
Yeah. Love it, Nick. I was talking to a group of other accountants recently, and I just mentioned when we were talking about gaining new customers and clients and whatever, I just mentioned to go, look, we've got a waiting list of 20 plus clients. And they were like, why would you have a waiting? Why would you not just take them now? And we're like, growth consumes cash. And I like the life I have.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sacrifice my cash to serve these people in the short term while we get them to a profitable state. At this moment in time, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't stack up. They're like, why
I
would you not just
I
take
love
it?
that.
Yeah. And it's something we've stuck by. It was actually, so our business is myself and my wife, right? And when we rolled into the recession, naturally being in, accounting or whatever, we were inundated with the possibility of taking new clients. And actually, she recognized and saw a risk. And come July 2020, we just turned off advertising and we just went, do you know what? Unless you're absolutely an ideal client, you just can't come in.
Yeah.
And we did that all the way until 2022. And what it taught us was all those things where we were like, we've got to get creative. We've got to make sure we actually reversed engineered. We went, it wasn't, can we say yes? It was actually, can this potential client get over all of these hurdles, which are us saying no? And if they can get over all of those, then we go, this is a really good fit person that we can really, really help. And it's going to make such a difference. And our business is massively different, in terms of profitability, and the level of impact we have in clients is hugely different. So yeah.
I there are more and more examples of businesses that are actually getting higher valuations. Okay. Um, in the past, what did we do, right? We were like, okay, how much did you make? Add a multiplier. That's your value. I'll buy you, or I'll sell my business, right? That was like basic how you buy a business stuff. Like you could do it on a napkin. Like you could literally buy a business with napkin math. If and obviously then go and confirm the details later on before you close the deal. But you can negotiate a deal on with napkin math, right? But now you have companies that are getting these valuations that the earnings aren't anywhere near, when you look at the multiple, it's so absurd. Like that justification just doesn't make sense. But these companies are getting these huge valuations, and a lot of those companies are actually companies that have things like waiting lists. They've built out these like scarcity models, and there's value in that. Usually, they're highly profitable in terms of margin, even though they're not these big, fat monster machines. Um, I really loved on Sunday. I went to visit one of my old employees, who's a good friend of mine. He opened up a new Greek restaurant not too far from my house, and his first restaurant was a huge success, and it's actually a big footprint. It's a massive structure. And I went to the new restaurant. It was quite smaller. I think it was like 15 tables. And I told him, I was like, Stavros, man, this place is packed. I'm like, you need a bigger place. And he's like, no. It's like, I don't want one. It's like, what do you mean? He goes, people can't get in on Saturday because it's the best word of mouth. People can't get in here, and they're talking about it. He said the only complaint I've gotten so far about the restaurant is people complaining they can't get in. He's like, that is the best form of marketing I've ever seen, and it's feeding on itself. And I'll tell you, on the surface, right away when I looked at his brand, I was like, this brand is incredibly valuable. I don't know what his register's ringing. Obviously, he's doing pretty good if can't let people in. Um, his margins must be better, right? Because if there's that much of a demand, you can charge a premium for your product. So that's awesome. Check that box. And the brand is just strong. Like your initial, um, the feeling you get is that this is This is a strong company, and I give him a lot of credit for that. I think it was a really cool statement and incredibly mature of him, because you could easily get shiny object syndrome when you got people waiting outside and say, you know what, let's go get another space quick. Let's buy the next store. Let's knock down the wall. Let's blow it up. And then
Yeah.
you're at 80% capacity. You have 10 empty tables, and you don't look so hot anymore. And then
Yeah.
as a result, that snowballs into, yeah, they're not doing too good. I don't know, that place isn't too popular. And obviously, that doesn't mean you have to take away from the fact that you can scale, you can grow, you can, but you probably want to do it um, with measurement.